All right, today I'm going to take you from sounding like this to sounding like this. I'll be completely honest, you don't need a massive studio to pull this off. You can literally do this from your bedroom or on your cracked version of Logic Pro. So today I'm going to walk you through how to get an indie folk chorus sounding so big that your next Spotify payout might actually cover your phone bill or your money back, guaranteed. Yeah, I know they're not paying for this. That's the joke. Checkity check. All right, so the goal here is to get this kind of weak sounding chorus to sound like a big indie folk anthem chorus. So right now we have guitar and we have a little bit of drums. So the drums don't sound too bad, but I feel like the guitar can be layered a little bit more, a little bit thicker sounding. So let's kind of just get going and start adding elements here. So element number one, I think I'm going to layer the guitars with a mandolin. So I'm just going to go grab my mandolin and then record right on top of this guitar. All right, so that added mandolin layer on those acoustic guitars just fills out that frequency spectrum a little bit more. It kind of adds that top end, higher end, and that higher octave. And everything now just sounds a little bit thicker. So next, I'm going to add a couple things to the drum. So right now we got kicks, we got claps. With the claps, I like to do a variation of different claps, so it just doesn't sound like a programmed loop. But one more thing we can add here is just like a tambourine. So I'm just going to go on Splice and find a tambourine. We'll add just like a splash of reverb to it as well. But that's going to also kind of add to that frequency spectrum as well. We're kind of filling things out now. And already it's starting to sound a lot bigger. Now, a lot of indie folk songs, they have like specific sounds that you really translate to indie folk music. So there's banjos, pedal steels, sometimes violins, different twangier guitar sounds. So next, out of those, I want to add some banjo in here because, you know, with those Noah Kahan songs, Mumford & Sons songs, you really have that fast picking banjo on a lot of those choruses. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab my banjo, throw some fast picking banjo on here, and make it start sounding a little bit more folky. All right, that kind of scratches that folk itch. You hear that banjo, you know you're listening to a folk song. Same with the mandolins. You know, we're producing folk, so we want to get those sounds that everyone loves in the song. So let's throw some bass in here because it's desperately needing some bass. And for this bass, I'm just using a guitar rig preset, just dirty studio bass. I didn't want too many highs breathing through here, so I just cut off a lot of those highs. That obviously thickens things up even more. You know, you want some low end in there. Cellos work really nice in here too. All right, so next I'm going to pull up this Ink Audio Ink Steel plugin. It's a contact instrument. It's just a pedal steel guitar plugin. So really, really powerful plugin. Ink Audio actually makes really, really good plugins. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to throw the reverb way up on this just so it sounds a little more wet. And I'm just going to throw on just a very simple pedal steel melody. All right, that just kind of gives it a little bit of character, kind of adds like a little bit of ambient pedal steel in the background with lots of reverb, you know, just adding to that indie folk sound. All right, so next we're going to add that infamous guitar riff over those big indie folk sounding choruses. I'm going to use my Fender Strat and I'm going to use this Find Classics plugin. There's a country pickin' plugin. And just to make it a little bit more twangy sounding, I'm going to put it on the second pickup selector position. And we're going to record a melody. And if you want 20% off any Fine Classics plugins, use code LukeProv20 off at checkout or just follow the link below. You get 20% off. And if you want to add like a crash and an impact like these, that kind of helps as well. Really get into that chorus. I just used the SoCal kit for the crash, and then I found this impact on Splice. And also just following the guitars. You can also add, some tom fills in there too. Just to kind of add a little bit of ear candy there. And yeah, to be honest, that's pretty much like a really good sounding chorus. On top of this, we'd get some, vocals. We'd add some layers to them. You can either go like the gang vocal route and like stack a ton of layers on the vocals. So a lot of indie folk songs do that with vocals, and then a lot of songs don't. So it's kind of up to you and your preference on that for vocals. And, other elements we can add. Oops, I gave it away right there. Other elements you can add are, violins. Violins on indie folk songs sound amazing. And if you want to get relatively realistic violins, the Stradivari Violin Contact Instrument Library is a really, really good sounding library for that. But yeah, you can add these. In this particular chorus, I think a little bit too much going on to put those in there, but you could even throw in like a staccato sounding one. That's an option on this Contact library, but that would sound like this. But yeah, lots of ideas. Cellos also sound good on these choruses. Can kind of mess around and get creative with mandolin as well. For those of you who don't have all these instruments, there's software instruments available. Just kind of do a Google search like mandolin plugins, banjo plugins. Yeah, you don't have to have all these instruments. You can download some software instruments and get these sounds as well. Let's do a final run through of the chorus, and then I'll kind of give my final thoughts. And then an idea I had for vocals that could go on here would be like, I've been holding on to you, Miss Daisy. You're doing all the things I keep saying maybe. Oh, 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 you've been doing it right. Oh, 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 I've been chasing the wrong kind of right. And then when those OOOs come in, you can do some like stacks, obviously like any indie folk sounding stack. But that's kind of like a direction you can take into it. And then like all those lyrics that I was singing, you can just kind of stack them. And then this kind of sounds even thicker of a chorus. But anyways, that's kind of it for this video. Lots of different instruments you can add on these indie folk choruses to make them sound bigger and, like your favorite songs that you listen to on Spotify. Banjos, mandolins, violins, pedal steels, claps. It really, really gives it that indie folk sound. So try and implement these on your next track and you'll probably get a little bit bigger of a sounding chorus. The only other thing I would say is, once this is also mixed and mastered, that's going to also take it to the next level. I always do like an A/B test when I get my songs mixed and mastered. And you could really see a difference in energy. This is more of the production side on how to produce an indie folk chorus. But, on the mixing and mastering side, you can make it sound even bigger when everything's kind of meshed together and processed really, really well. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you guys are struggling to get your songs produced and you'd like someone to help you kind of take it to the finish line, shoot me a message on Instagram. We can definitely get something going. We can get it professionally mixed and mastered. I can also help you run some Facebook ads if that's something you would like as well, just to actually get some really solid streaming numbers as well. Shoot me a message and we can kind of work something out. Anyways, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It really, really helps out the channel. And we will see you guys in the next video.